Hello and welcome to Our Generation. Today we'll be talking about firearms in school and out. Today we have 6 guests with us, including Mindy Nguyen. You were the person who led the charge in the walkout on that day. So I want to ask you, what was the sort of message that was at the forefront of that walkout?
As someone who collaborated with pals to send out the cards for the Florida shooting, I believe that wasn't enough for my part to do something what I believe was right. So I knew that if I wanted to push my own beliefs and see my own... I messed that up. I'm so sorry.
No, keep going.
For me, I think if I want to see what I believe is right to be pushed forward, then I should do what I think was right, which is to do the walkout and to have other people who have like-minded thoughts as me to join me.
I see. Was it, I have to ask this because many have debated this outside of this video. Was it planned, the walking out of school?
It wasn't actually.
Oh.
So what happened was it was actually the school board within the district. They were talking about it for weeks. And they were having every school sit down together in the bowl, and they were going to have like a short assembly to give respects to the victims of the shooting. And so it was only Marina that did an official walkout where they said they were planning it, but ours was completely impromptu.
I see. And you led this walkout because you believed you wanted to bring something more on that day.
Yes.
And what do you want changed in the legislation?
I believe that we should have more gun controls and more mental health background checks for it, of course. One thing that people have been talking about are guns in school, which I believe shouldn't be a thing because even if there is training, I don't believe that it would still lead to our safety. And a lot of countries where they have gun control and they have like limited gun access, there isn't many deaths in there. So I believe that as America, we can aim towards that as well.
Okay. And what do you folks think about that?
I'll just take part of that. I won't take all of that, so I'll have them for digest. But I do agree on the mental health aspects because that is more of a reason than the gun themselves. And I think we should be focusing on that because plenty of people own guns that aren't going and shooting up schools. And as far as adding more laws, we already have a plethora of laws on the books, and the idea that to add more when the laws that were in place weren't followed. In Florida, the kid, according to Florida law, he should have been arrested multiple times. And in Santa Fe, he was 17, so he shouldn't have been able to get a gun. He shouldn't have been able to have a sawed-off shotgun. So there were laws that were existing that weren't followed. So why add more laws to make it harder for average people who want a gun when the laws in the first place aren't even being followed?
And you do know that with the mental health issue, I believe this comes under the purview of the HIPAA sort of thing that the hospitals have, where they can't release information pertaining to your health in that aspect. So that's what people are talking about, is that releasing sort of that information to gun sellers would be in violation of HIPAA. That's HIPAA, I believe. Do you think that should be rescinded?
I think it's more along the lines of, like, when you're going to go and purchase a gun, like, the paper, like, I know you have to fill out paperwork and stuff. I think they also have, like, a background check depending on where you are. You should be required to, like, fill out some sort of questions that might determine, like, your level of mental health to see, like, where you are. Not necessarily, like, going and getting people's records and taking that information.
I see. What level of mental health shouldn't be able to own a gun?
You know, if you are a danger to yourself or others, you should not really be able to possess something that could potentially greater the danger that you can do to others, the harm.
Right. Now, is that at all in violation of the Second Amendment to restrict the right to own an armament to a person who is deemed mentally ill?
It is, because the Second Amendment states the right to bear arms, so it really just, it all depends, honestly, like how far people are willing to sell their freedoms for safety.
I see.
And that is a line that we have to, it's a one we have to make sure to be careful when we cross too. But I agree with you on that. And also, we can't give up liberty for security. The more we give up liberty for security, the more dangerous the situation becomes. So it is very based off of, if you do have mental health issues that you've if you try to commit suicide or whatever, but you've done something in the past where it shows, just if you haven't done anything at all and you have to take these prescription medications, it's not constitutional to say you can't get a gun just because we think you might do something even though you haven't.
How does that sound to you guys?
Yeah, not only that, but I think we should also implement education as well as with the mental health checkups, and also how sorry, I messed up. Anyway,
Go ahead.
So definitely a key aspect to just gun reform in general is just for sure mental health is a part of it, but I feel educating the common people should be a part of it too, because without education you're not really I guess in communities they don't really know how to use guns properly, even in social aspects. We don't even talk about it that much, and I feel it does need to be a discussion that we really do need to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think we should devote funds to gun education in schools?
Not funds, but we could just talk in general, an open discussion, rather than just going at each other's throats and just even though there's right and left, I feel there should be more of a togetherness in this. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And you mentioned that guns in schools wouldn't be a good idea, right?
I personally don't believe it would be a good idea.
You would feel unsafe?
I would feel unsafe to
I
know
see.
that a teacher would have a gun. I'm sure even with months of training that would be involved with implementing that kind of system, there is still possibilities of mishaps happening, that if there were to be a shooter and a teacher does pull out a gun to protect the students, there could still be that possibility that if you hear banging on the door, the teacher could freak out and accidentally fire it and ended up killing another student, which would be unnecessary.
Right, yes. Do anyone here, feel unsafe at this school right now?
I currently do, because I believe that we should have guns on campus, not by teachers, but I believe resource officers would be a really good thing to have in schools, which resource officers are guards who know how to use a firearm, know how to protect students, are able to find the threat and get rid of it as quickly as possible. And I feel even if we had one on campus, that would deter a threat from someone wanting to shoot up a school.
I've actually had a discussion with Dr. Smith about that, because we were having an open forum discussion on it, and one of that idea actually came up with my group of friends, so I brought it up. And he said that funding would be involved with that, but we had to see how often would the officer come on, because then we would have to contact the local police station to see what schedule we can fit them in as well, because we can't be 100% sure that he can be on campus all the time.
I see. And Tara, you nodded with her. Do you agree with her?
Yeah, I actually
statement?
agree with that. That's really plausible, because in a state where we are, we really do need safety for schools, because I used to live in Pennsylvania, so we did have officers on campus, so that was and it's different for me here, because in California it's so open. It's really different for me, so I really do understand about the protection that's needed on campus.
All right.
Cool.
I had something in my head, and I forget what it was. All right. Teachers with guns, is that plausible at all to anyone at this table? Teachers that want to have the training with the gun and want to bring one with them to school, concealed carry, possibly?
I think if a person's going to take the time to go through the process to get a concealed carry, they can do that, and they should be able to carry it on campus. So, if a teacher has a concealed carry, they got that on their personal time, obviously you can take that pretty much anywhere, concealed carry. I think that's okay, because they obviously had to go through training for this, and so I think it would be fine. It actually might be a little more safer, because you were talking about, we might not be able to get a guard on campus all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Then at least we have something,
Right. Is there a problem with that idea?
Yeah, then if they would have a gun, then students would be able to access the gun, and it's
Speak up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, what if a student was able to access the gun, and then it would be a threat from within the school instead of within coming without.
I like to believe that most people are good, and the thing about a concealed carry, hence the name concealed, I don't think, and a person who has a concealed carry is not flaunting that around, so I don't think a student's really going to have access to it, like you say.
Right, because concealed carry is a strap on the chest.
It's a strap on the chest,
sort of
it's
right there.
in the back of the pants, side of the pants, something. So I don't think students are really going to notice that, and no one's really going to be throwing that around that, oh, hey, I got a concealed carry if something ever happened. It's more of, I have it. It's for my own personal, feeling of safety. Therefore, you don't tell anyone. That way, they can't use it against you. So I don't think anyone who has a concealed carry it's going to get out so it can be used against them.
Is that okay? All right. Anything to add? The concealed carry? Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
You do. All right. So today we seem to have. Do we today have an epidemic with school shootings?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I don't really. There's more. Okay. The statistics out there right now on school shootings are falsified. There have been, for sure, way more than should have ever occurred. But I believe people are being fed misinformation about how many shootings there actually are.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
To add on.
Okay, so yes, there is an epidemic, but it's not as big as it's being led to,
I
be
see.
believed.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a.
Sorry. But it's still bad.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not
Okay,
saying
okay,
it's not
okay.
bad. No, there are way this. It should never happen, but unfortunately, there are bad people in this world, and there's really not much we can do about that. But I just, I want everyone to know here that there's some misinformation being fed to you about how many shootings there actually have been.
I think the number was 22 so far this year, pushed by CNN, but they don't go into effect that it's just if somebody is shot, but it's not accident or it's not what you were saying. It's not. They're exaggerating it to what it actually should be.
Well, what they constitute as a school shooting is even a gun being brought on campus. So, even if someone, after hours, it doesn't matter. So someone committed suicide in a parking lot of a school shooting. And that's what their numbers are saying. And so everyone's, kind of, up in arms about this.
The thing is, I want people to consider the following. Media, their whole headline or their whole motto in general is blood sells. How many times do you see car accidents on the news? Rarely. How many times do you see airplanes? They occur every often, so but they don't happen every single day. That also happens with school shootings. It's blown up because it sells, and that's the point. With our generation, we really do need to be careful about taking the information from the internet and from Twitter. Twitter is not a fact. Okay, just to point out there, and the news sources, they're always gonna be a bias, no matter what. So people really do need to make their research actually plausible. If you were gonna make an argument, actually have something to back you up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there are some news organizations.
Can we pause this for a second?
And you were saying.
I was saying that a lot of different organizations now are not saying the name of the shooter because, it prevents people or putting the face up. So it prevents other people, because I know the Florida shooter was looking up to past shooters on YouTube videos, this is what I want to do when I grow up and stuff like that. But it was now you can't get that infamy now, and I think that helps part of the problem.
Right. There's a bit of a profit motive to trying to throw up. Look at this. Look at all these people
my
dying.
final exit.
Yeah. So would you agree with that? The media sort of, is there some sort of perpetuation? There's a cycle. There's another word for what I'm trying to describe. Does that make sense at all? No.
No idea what
Do you agree with the sentiment that the media sort of?
They're doing this to
you go.
feed push their agenda on this whole let's get rid of guns for those people who are really okay, let's just ban everything, let's get rid of the Second Amendment. They're using what is happening, they're blowing it out of proportion to push an agenda. With the whole walkout thing goes back to the whole, they're getting people rallied now, and they're showing the rallies, so more people are like, oh, well, all these people are doing it, so I should do it. And it's just this whole thing about like, okay, the more we can like show like destruction and stuff, we're just gonna get it.
You say the walkouts mainly like a loud minority almost.
Mm-hmm.
I see. I've also heard that the walkout we've had was sort of an effort from both sides to protest what is going on. Is that true? Was there sort of a mix from both sides in the walkout, or was there one prevailing sort of message?
I mean, the people who are more vocal, they were really establishing that they want more gun control. I didn't really hear anyone saying that they want to get rid of guns altogether, because I feel like a lot of people at our school already know people who do hunting and stuff, because I have friends who hunt, and I believe that guns can be gone altogether, because some people do it for recreational usage and some people use protection. And I personally do think that if that makes you feel comfortable and happy within your life, then that's perfectly fine. But I haven't heard any other side of the argument saying that it is to get rid of gun. No, it's not that. No, I don't know what I was going to say with
lessen
that.
gun control.
Lessen gun control, yeah.
Lessen gun control. Because California, we know, is the strictest in its gun control measures. Should that be the standard for states to aspire to, or should California lessen its gun laws, sort of be more lenient on that?
I think California should definitely lessen. Like, we have, I mean, just for the process of buying a gun, I don't know exactly how long, I think it's like a 30-day wait period before you can go pick up the gun after you buy it. You know, you can't buy ammo in the store at the same time you buy the gun, so you can't load it and shoot it at the store. And I know California has a lot of gun-free zones, which is definitely, it's becoming more and more of an issue. Back to the whole thing about like, oh, just making laws. People are going to break it no matter what. Prohibition, banned alcohol. People still had alcohol. You know, it's not going to stop, you know, someone from doing it. And so gun-free zones are actually more dangerous because, you know, the law-abiding citizens who are not going to bring guns in, they just become a target. You know, people who have bad intentions, that is where they're going to go because they know, okay, I'm not going to get shot at. I'm just going to shoot them up. So.
Yeah, I do agree with that. There is one statistic that I read saying that over 90% of the mass shootings occur in gun-free zones, and that has been since 2009. So probably all the ones that you've heard of, all the mass shootings, have been present in a gun-free zone, which I think is a very big issue, and that's why these people target those places, because there's not going to be guns, there's not going to be anyone to stop them from doing what they want to do.
Right. So would you say a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun?
Definitely, I would say a good guy would attempt to try to stop a bad guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then, what do you think of that sort of philosophy? Good guy with a gun. Because it seems that on the common on this side of the table believe in more restrictions on guns. Is that true? You say no. Are you nodding?
I'm nodding.
You're nodding. You're shaking your head.
More on like mental health, yeah. There's
Mental
few
health.
restrictions.
I see.
And again with the media, I like how I think someone mentioned about like how the media portrays like the shooter more, and then now they're doing it less. I think you did. And then so I do want to talk about that. Sorry, I'm trying to get my train of thought.
That's fine.
So
I failed at it earlier. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about this because a lot of the shooters I've seen, there's like Instagram fan accounts for them. So they're getting there's this culture within like just like the shooters in general where they even idolize the shooters, whether or not like that they're like their morals are good or not. And I feel like that perpetuates like this sort of like culture within it because it promotes to like those kids to come out and like go out more and shoot up schools, which is like not really something that we really condone in our society. So like I don't know if that really comes in hand with the media like.
Well,
blowing
it does
up,
because
right?
the media is like showing all these people, and it's getting like it's spreading the word about them. So like I think you were trying to say like people who are like this are now seeing that there's not going to be any repercussions for what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they're coming out and they're shooting up the schools. And schools are a gun-free zone, which is why it's probably such a big target. And you know, and if you really want to hurt people, kids, you know, you're killing kids. It's devastating. And so, yeah, by the media just blowing up over this topic and being super biased and really focused on it, it's really making it worse because it's just showing this is okay. This is the shooter. This is what happened. Nothing happened. Moving on. Next shooter.
Yeah, I agree with that too, but I think that the shooters see that they're of course going to be blamed for it, but the media is making it the gun's fault. It's saying that we need to get rid of the Second Amendment because this guy shot up a school. It's like, no, this guy shot up a school. We need to take care of mental health. We need to get rid of these people. Not rid, but like help these people to stop wanting to do these horrible things.
I feel like that's the thing about our generation, because kids within schools who are more quote unquote prone for school shootings, they're often like stereotyped as like very lonely. They don't have any friends. They're like have these thoughts, and they're kind of like the weirdo out of it. And I remember I was hosting an event for the school where you're trying to meet new people, where you're trying to interact with people. In fact, I went up to many people who sat alone like throughout the year, and I tried to talk to them. But I think with this generation, people are so within their own bubbles that they don't want to approach other people and actually get to know them. Because I remember I walked up to someone and was like, "Oh, hi, I'm Mindy," and then they were like, "What do you want?" And I was like, I was so surprised by that reaction, because I just wanted to talk to someone and like know if they're like okay, because that's the kind of person I am. But to see that so many people, that even though people are saying that to help this person out, you're supposed to know them and you're supposed to give them comfort, yet people aren't able to reach out to each other because they're so prone to staying to themselves.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think our generation is very prone to loneliness?
I think it has to do a lot with
Social media.
technological advances. You know, everyone has a phone basically. Everyone has a phone. And you know, and everyone's so self-absorbed in it. Social media, like you said, scrolling, you know, just I don't know what people do, waste their times on their phone all day. I don't know what you can do all day, but people do it, and like no one calls you on the phone anymore. It's all texting. You know, people don't like having conversations face to face anymore, which is really sad. And it's just I attribute a lot of it to technology.
So we as parents should encourage more direct face-to-face conversation.
Yeah, I think it's becoming a lost art, and communication is like a huge thing. Like just making society go and everything. Like you need to be able to communicate with people, and it's just really important.
I feel like also with that, I feel like nowadays we do emphasize individuals over the community a lot. As a community, we really don't, synchronize as well, or like even, it's like it's always a man for himself, or a woman, whatever you are.
Man, it could stand for a human.
Yeah, so for sure, it's like one of those things where, as a community, we really do need to educate on others on how to like help with mental illness, and really like educate, like just like any social cues that we really do need to like come help.
Yeah, and because we're so like we're not communicating as a community, that's why we're so divided on a lot of topics, and we're not forming resolutions because everyone's just butting heads, because no one really knows how to talk to each other in a civil manner. It's just, this is my idea, no, this is my idea, yell, yell, yell.
Luckily, we have this program.
Well, that's what she was getting. I mean, what we've all been talking about. What she was mentioning.
And do it one more time.
Sure, we'll be right back.
Okay. So there's like a big stereotype that like the lonely kid that doesn't have any friends is the one who shoots up the school. But then it could be true in some cases, but there's lots of lonely kids who just like to be alone. Like they don't have any intentions to shoot up schools. So I don't think bullying is technically the it's always a problem. It shouldn't be done. And but I don't think the bullying is what causes the gun violence, because yes, there are many kids who have been bullied and they're fine. So I think it's a total they not with mental health that's the problem?
Yeah, it's mental health and bullying. Like the one with Nicholas Cruz, Emma Gonzalez, the leader of the what's it called?
The March for Our Lives.
March for Our
There
Lives.
we go.
She admitted to bullying Nicholas Cruz for like a couple years, like bullying him, and she admitted it. And like that's obviously a problem that she doesn't think is the issue.
I thought she said she tried to reach out for him.
She admitted to like bullying Nicholas Cruz, like she was bullying him.
I think this all goes back to the whole thing about people not assuming responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to say, oh, it's everyone else's fault because you weren't inclusive of him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the issue, is no one's stepping up to take personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, like, majority of people think that it's yours or my fault because we didn't go talk to someone. It's just people are trying to find someone else to blame.
Mm-hmm.
NRA?
NRA?
Actually, I wanted to bring
You know what?
up.
Yeah, Trao.
So lonely is our generation. We have social media. We all thrive with and live by social media. So, like, we talked about this earlier off camera. But do you want to elaborate on that too?
On, like, the whole thing about, like, people just being on their phones, or like the glorification of people.
Oh, just like on their phones and how that
Like, okay, so everyone being on their phones just takes away from personal social interaction, so no one's communicating with each other, and so there's no communication anymore. There's no personal relationships. That society can't run like that with every man for themselves, as you were saying. It's just, that's not how it works. We got to work together to support each other, and that's why a lot of people, like, we can't come together and find a common ground, because it's, okay, no, this is mine, this is my opinion, and, like, no one is willing to just compromise and communicate with each other, mostly because they just don't know how. It's not being taught. It's a lost art.
The National Rifle Association. We seem to have very divisive opinions on that. Is that the same at this table?
I don't want to speak for everybody else, but from what we've gone off, I don't know. The way I see it, it's kind of put on this banner as like the boogeyman. Like, this is like, oh, they want the blood money. They earn money. Because like David Hogg and Cameron Gray, the other March for Our Lives people, were talking about how, like, you know, they don't care if children die as long as they get their blood money from people. And it's just ridiculous, because it's just name calling, and it doesn't push the conversation forward when you just assassinate these people's characters. The NRA is basically just people like us who would, like, pay $30 a month to own guns, to have privileges, to have, you know, a community, you know.
It's going back to not taking responsibility, like blaming the kids for not being friendlier. People are blaming the NRA because, you know, National Rifle Association, it's got a firearm in its name, therefore it must be bad. And that's totally not what it is. And this whole thing about how the NRA is killing kids, it's like, okay, no, they haven't actually physically gone out. I mean, you can see, just look at the shooters on the news. Those are the people killing the kids, not the National Rifle Association.
Nobody in the NRA actually has committed mass shooting, and it's just, you know, it's just a responsibility of the individual, like you said.
That's the one thing about the walkout that kind of bothered me, was other people were starting to chant saying, hey, hey, ho, ho, NRA has got to go. And I was thinking about that over and over again, because that was the one here I did not participate in. Because I was thinking, like, they're just a group of people with common interests. I don't know why you're dragging them into this. They just want to have their own separate thing. You shouldn't be dragging them into something that's a totally different topic. Like, they support guns, but, like, they're not killing anyone out there. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just a community. And I believe there's nothing wrong with that at all.
No, and that's why it's another big issue, is like people are focusing on the non-important things. Everyone's saying, oh, I want change, but they're not focusing on the things that actually should be needing change. It's more like, it's blaming. It's just blaming. It goes back to taking personal responsibility. It's like nothing's going to get done if you're just going to start blaming everything else, or, you know, or focusing on things that aren't important to the topic. You know, like getting the kids help that actually need it, or as you guys want a little more gun control, make it a little harder checking up on mental health and stuff to get a gun. it's more of just like, oh, NRA needs to go. Well, that's really not the problem.
Like, back to the NRA, if that's, like, a community of, like, like, I don't know much about it, but if it's a community of, like, responsible gun owners, I don't see the problem. Like, as long as they're not, like, promoting, like, shooting up schools, which I know they're not.
It's
No.
definitely.
So I don't.
Come after the kids,
Actually-
come on.
No
School.
promotion of violence at
Buy more
all.
bullets.
It's-
School shooting a day
It's
keeps the
actually,
doctor
I
away.
think it's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
It's, it's promoting joining the NRA so that, these are the responsible gun owners in America. These
Promoting-
are the people who really care about their freedoms, their Second Amendment right,
Yeah, and-
who will do anything to protect
And,
that.
like, promoting, like, education about the rifles. I think that's a good thing if people are more educated on how to use them, when to use them.
Right, because
Because
setting up of the newsletters is
Yeah.
like, tips on how to maintain and care, how to hold the gun, how to properly fire and stuff, and that. Also, it'd be really good if we want to educate the people. Everyone should join the NRA. Everyone should
Yeah.
become members, and
I'm going to.
yeah, there you go.
Look,
And
I want to buy a gun, but I got to learn how to use it first.
Right, you gotta learn how
And-
to use a gun.
and-
this is sponsored. But, like,
State
Not sponsored by the NRA.
State-sponsored television. I'm gonna hide my face
and,
now.
like, I think
Get up here,
another important thing is, like, keeping your gun safe. Like, I know the shooting that just happened in Florida is because this kid took his dad's gun. Like, why wasn't his dad's gun in a safer place that is not easily accessible to everyone? So I think keeping it safe is a really big...
Wait, didn't he buy a
well,
gun from
I don't know.
Walmart?
The thing is,
No, the one that, like, just happened this week. Not
Santa
Memphis
Fe?
Cruise.
Oh, Santa Fe. Oh, okay.
Was it Santa Fe? Okay, Texas,
Santa Fe.
sorry. There was just one
The
in
problem with
Florida.
that is, like, okay, any parent is not going to want to think anything is wrong with their child,
Mhm.
and they would never ever think, oh, my child did something wrong. Unless, of course, your kid is like a hellion, and okay, well, maybe then but
Mhm.
like, it's not fair to say that the dad should have kept his gun.
That's blaming again.
It's
but-
blaming it, right? You can't really
Yeah.
say that, okay, he should have had it in a safer place. That's his gun. He bought it. He's a responsible person.
Mhm.
He would never think that something like that would happen. You
Mhm.
can't foresee that.
But- sorry.
Sorry, you can go.
It's still, like, just being a responsible gun owner in general, I think. Like, you can't just leave it around. I think if you own a gun, you should know the consequences that could happen if it falls into the wrong hands, even if that is your own child.
One of the points besides government tyranny, which I think is the main point, protect from the government trying to take over, is protection. And if you're trying to protect your house, I don't want to take words from a comedian, but there's a bit by Bill Burr, but it's like, you're talking about how, like, you have to, now you have to keep the bullets in the garage and the gun in the safe and the magazine right here, and now we're doing a relay around the house while the shooter's trying to stab you. You can't, like, the whole point of it is to have it ready for protection. So, having it, maybe a little bit safer in a place where it's not easily accessible, but at the same time, you can't have it too far put away because it defeats the purpose.
Or, like, even just, like, a lock. Like, if only you know the thing.
Well, I mean, education. If you educate your kids about it, and that's the thing also about today is people are such a roosie, like, oh my god, my kid has a gun. I mean, you see old commercials of kids, like, it was, I'm not going to say normalized, but it was, people were being more educated about it. It was, kids knew about it, how to properly handle safety and stuff. And, like, the other thing is, like, people don't know safety, and they don't bother to know safety. And that's what's so great about the NRA. Join.
Again, not sponsored by the National Rifle Association. Right, so is the father in Santa Fe, the father owned a sawed-off shotgun? Is that what...
I'm pretty sure he had a-
took his father's gun? Is that what happened?
I think he took two.
I'm
from
not
somewhere.
aware. I haven't.
Okay.
I heard
well-
he purchased it illegally without parents' permission.
Okay.
Wait, which one?
The Santa Fe.
Santa
shooting.
Fe.
Are you? Okay. I heard it was he took it from the dad.
Okay,
But
well...
I'm not sure.
Well,
Okay.
Research.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like shooting my guns.
All right.
Is it dead again?
Oh, jeez. Are we comfortable, like, I know you weren't, but with... Because this side argued for it and this side argued for it, armed personnel on campus. Is that something that we can both agree with?
I feel
Both
like
sides.
I think it's iffy. It's, like, really... I don't know.
I think going back to the whole, like, we want to educate someone, if you, like, this person that we will be putting on campus is truly going to be educated. They've gone through training,
Yeah.
they know what they're doing, and it's for the protection of us, and since you weren't comfortable with teacher concealed carry, I feel like that's going to be
the better option, and that's gonna be like your best option
I
right
feel like it
now.
also provides like a role model, you know?
Right, and
There's-
then this also then that makes it no longer a gun-free zone
Right.
and
That's
becomes
true.
less of a target.
That's very
And
true.
because I know, I mean, people even with mental issues, I don't think are gonna be stupid enough to walk into an area where they know, okay, I'm gonna shoot, but I'm gonna get shot back at.
But then it can be like a suicide mission sometimes. Like they know they're gonna get shot, but they just want to do.
You can
Right, but
reduce
it's
the amount of
probably
people
going to be
killed.
reduced by a lot. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how suicidal people are, but I know a lot of people. You know, you want to die, you want to kill yourself, you want to be suicidal. That's probably not the way you want to die. Least painful, and that's probably going to be painful. So
As someone who goes through depression, like the thoughts of suicide, that would probably be the very last option I would probably go with. Because once you want to kill yourself, you don't want to make it a public thing. You don't want it. If you're gonna do it, you probably want to do it from the safety of like your own
But then
bubble.
some
or your own
people
stuff.
jump off of buildings.
That's what I do. I jump
Def-
out of a plane. Go out like a.
I mean, if that is an option that I do, it is convenient. It's not.
We just don't know the minds of what they're
Right,
thinking.
we
so
don't know.
We
The
don't.
thing is,
Though-
we have to keep in mind that it starts off like something in the back of your mind, and it starts to snowball as you like don't as you don't have like a community around you to stop you from like thinking that like that it comes apart with like being alone
right,
and being so
communications.
like trapped and not thinking you're like there's like anyone else to help you, you know.
Right, you can't. People just don't talk about it anymore because
Yeah.
you have no one to talk about it. Therefore, you just keep this all pent up inside
Yeah.
of you, and then so.
And that's the whole thing with like as you can have as many people that can help you, but in the end, it's your choice. Ultimately, your choice to get up on your feet, like again.
Right. Luckily, we have a suicide hotline for the
Yeah.
whole penting out. Yes.
I was gonna add one more thing about
One
the
more.
gun-free zones. There was, I can't cite specifically which one it was, but there was a case where the shooter was going to go to a school, but there was a warning sign that said there were armed guards on campus, and he turned around and he went to a gun-free zone of a church, and he shot at the church. So I think that just from that, it shows that it would deter some of the people who would want to go shoot up a school because it is a no gun zone or
Gun-free zone.
gun-free zone. Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, I think by having armed guards, you definitely reduce that and even maybe eliminate it completely. I don't know, but you know, you have a really good chance of that, I think.
It's just sad that we think we need them.
Well,
Yeah,
we,
well,
we,
that's-
we cry that we want to protect our children, don't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah.
That's
And if we want to
It's
protect them,
extremely unfortunate, but it's the world we live in.
Yeah.
So
right, we protect our politicians with armed guards. We should protect our children with armed guards. What do you think of that?
Cause I think with that too, like our world changes constantly. Like the second you are now, you are different like a second after. You know.
so we need to adapt. With
So
the
we do
changing.
really need to adapt to our society. Like back then, our Second Amendment was originally to rebel against our government if they like,
Yeah, it is still for
Yeah.
that as well.
Mm.
you know.
I mean, it's,
And now it's for different reasons, more different reasons, like protection because you want to protect your family or getting raped. A lot of those like factors do come in as the society like evolves. Yeah.
All right, so armed guards in schools, is that one thing we can all sort of,
I would be
Ask for it.
completely fine with that.
you'd be fine with that?
I think most of us.
Most of us would be fine with that. All right. Well, those are some words and thoughts of our generation on firearms. Thank you for listening.
High fives would be good.
Hey.
Okay, we'll do that.
Can we do fist bumps?
Fist bumps are cool.
Fist bump.
Fist bump, high five. Oh, you want to do the awkward one? You go first, then I go for high five.
Yeah.
Gotta explode.
Turkey.
What's that?
Turkey.
Okay, you do this, and it's a
Yeah.
turkey.
I love that.